let's jump in then to target return on ad spend. Nigel, back to you. Please, can you explain this new term?
Yeah, so target return on ad spend. Ultimately, it's pretty straightforward. You are setting a target ROAS. You're saying, Google, I want to achieve 12x ROAS on my ad spend, and Google will ultimately kind of bid on your behalf to kind of give you that as a kind of a blended average. And I think that's really important to understand. So it isn't that all the ad inventory that's going after is going to be delivering that level. But what Google will hope to achieve with is kind of bidding at different levels across different types of ad inventory is to ultimately kind of give you back performance at that level. And the more aggressive or the lower aggressive you set that number is again your lever to kind of drive volume as well. So if you say I'm happy to accept a ROAS at say a 5x level, you more likely to get more volume than if you say, okay, well, I wanted it to kind of deliver volume at a kind of 20x ROAS.
Okay, so Nigel, we've been doing some research at Triptease. We've had a pack of hotels that we put onto commission bidding and then we moved them over. What have we seen in the last few weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when this news came out, we were kind of excited to see how tROAS performs because tROAS itself is an option that is actually relatively new. It was only launched in January with a view that I think the news around the kind of commission-based bidding was kind of going to get sunset. So what this graph here shows you is booking value with the blue columns and the return on ad spend we actually observed for a sample of our hotels that we thought we would test this on. And as you can kind of see, volume actually stayed broadly consistent, give or take, but we actually saw quite a notable drop in return on ad spend. So ultimately, tROAS for this sample over this period of time at least performed worse than it had done in the prior period on commission billing.
Yeah, and loads of caveats around this data. As you said, it was this sample, it was this period of time. It's not like, as you can see, the transition period was like the 19th or around between the 12th and the 19th of February. Obviously, people's booking behaviors in end of January and early February are different from what they are in February. So there's many reasons why we all need to take this chart with a pinch of salt. And then the other reason I think is really worth bearing in mind is that over time, Google's ability and their algorithm's ability to get closer to the target ROAS that you set is likely to improve. So it may be that it's low now, but it may be higher later. So we're not saying tROAS is bad. We're just saying we did a test and it didn't work out for these hotels for now.
Yeah, no, completely. I think that's absolutely right. This it was a sequential test, it wasn't a perfect A/B test. But this is certainly what we've observed, and the point around the spend is really true as well. So if you go on to the next slide, I think this kind of really highlights this. So what this data shows on this graph here is on the kind of the vertical axis, it shows the difference in the actual performance in terms of ROAS that each of those hotels achieved versus the target that was set, and therefore, because there's ultimately more hotels below that line of kind of zero, it's actually in fact 2/3 of the properties saw a ROAS that was lower than the target for this period. But the other thing to make about this chart that I think is quite interesting is that it was certainly more variable performance for lower volume properties. So actually the horizontal axis is spend, and when you can see as spend starts to rise, Google's ability to start to hit that target ROAS on a more consistent basis starts to improve. So you can actually see the kind of shape of it as it kind of starts to get closer and closer to that kind of zero line. And therefore, if we continue to run this test for multiple weeks, we may have started to see that return on ad spend start to improve for that sample size. But at least when it came into the initial data, we saw kind of worse performance.